Worst.
What kind of fucking bullshit is like?
Dude, he does this every week.
The bad news is that civilization is crumbling around you.
Wear a dog mask, cut your dick off, bomb Palestine.
The good news is that you are not alone.
There's butthole shaving videos.
I feel bad for the minorities in LA for having to deal with the white people in LA.
You have 5 till midnight, live every Monday at 8 p.m. where you join 5 Limp Bizkit Americans to laugh at the absurd nonsense of the end of history.
Shit show right there.
Sam, stop it!
Dude, do you know Cole is in like every clip?
Yeah, he really is in every
I love
clip.
it. I went heavy on like one episode with that.
Yeah, it's just funny because like even the ones he's not talking, he's in the background. I see his little picture. I'm like, Cole's kind of like our ghost host in a way.
Yeah, I'm wearing that green tank top that I was wearing in the intro too right now. So
Hey, Jordan, fuck you. The intro is great. How dare you?
man.
What?
How dare you?
Okay, so Columbus Day, boys. Columbus
I wore my
Day.
Staten Italy shirt for
Here's the thing. Columbus is a racist, and you're a racist
Good.
for liking
Oh,
him.
here we go.
Good.
This is unacceptable.
Let's go. That's why I like him more.
Yeah, this is bigotry, and you all need to learn your anti-racism training. You need to read Robin DiAngelo's book, and you need. I suggest when you go to vote, you vote from the perspective of a black, gay, trans, indigenous person.
We get it. You're voting for Kamala. We know.
Dude, I remember when my brief stint in college when I went to ASU, my history teacher.
Is that really even a college?
Yeah.
But my history teacher, it was Columbus Day or like day after, before, whatever. He was talking about it in class, and he was like so timid. He was like, obviously Columbus did some bad things, and then he like really quietly, but he did some good things too, And it was like, dude, just shut up, just tell us what he did.
Yeah, but he has to because some purple-haired loser is gonna find a reason to skip their homework or something.
Dude, I don't even think half the people in the class were paying attention. So like,
No, of course they weren't.
Well, it's ASU, bro.
Yeah, it's ASU.
They're already hungover or actively drinking in class.
Yeah, he would hand out like the sign-in sheet. We had a sign-in sheet we had to do. I guess because attendance was counted, and we people would sign it and then just walk out. Like it happened all the time. And we had a class of like 60 people, and there'd be like 20 people would just leave once they signed it.
It's so disrespectful. But
Didn't Gronk go to ASU? Oh no, he went to Arizona. No, where did he went to Arizona, right?
ASU is Arizona State.
No. But Gronk went to Arizona, not ASU, right?
Oh,
I believe so.
No, damn it.
James Harden went to ASU.
Oh, that makes sense.
Gronk going to ASU makes the most sense.
It does make. That's why I thought.
I've
It's
ever
Arizona,
heard.
though. Yeah, I'm wrong. Fucking.
That Jaden Daniels went to ASU, and then he left and went to LSU. But like the ASU players like burned his jersey and like I don't know. Like
That's because he was black. That's why.
Oh, those black guys doing it.
I know. I was just making a black joke. God damn. Are you Sam?
Man.
Okay, so Columbus, boys. Columbus.
Yeah. What's this Jew stuff with the Columbus thing, Sam? I don't like.
Is he Jewish?
You,
Dude,
taking away my Italian heritage.
I don't
my
know.
Italian boy.
The BBC released a thing that
Big Black
Christopher
Hawk?
Columbus is Jewish. Jewish and Spanish ancestry as opposed to Italian. So a double hit. But like other people are like, oh, it's BS. But like I haven't even found like the source of the information. It's like it's not cited obviously in the article I read.
So this sounds like the mainstream media is just trying to shift history and a narrative. Wow, where have I heard that?
Yeah, they just hate Dagos. But like, the thing is though, if you want to go a conspiracy route, then like you would think that they wouldn't want a guy who's becoming very reviled by people for right or wrong reasons.
Right.
You think they wouldn't want to make him Jewish? Like it would make Jews look bad? We talk about Jews all the fucking time on this thing, man.
We
just
can't
accidentally. Just comes up.
Man.
Yeah, but
like, I don't know.
Well, we need a scapegoat. It can't be the white man,
That's true. Yeah.
It is the white man.
But why would they? Where is this information coming from? Like, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
the
Like, they just
BBC
said it?
released an article on it.
Okay,
but
I can
then-
release an article about anything. It doesn't mean it's fucking true.
Right. The article came from like genetic research, but like the actual source of it. And then there's this. This is from a Spanish source. I mean, it's in English, but this is from Spain, Spanish. And then these people are doubting it. Who has not published any analysis since the exhumation in 2003 of the alleged tomb of the explorer. And this is from today. So this is brand new. So they didn't like link the study in the BBC article, and I didn't dig too much for it. I just couldn't find it.
Is that Columbus's bones? Do they have Columbus's body? Or is that just random skeleton?
No, I think
Can you
it's
tell
just
if he has
random
a-
skeletons.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you tell if he has a big nose?
I was,
I don't think you'd be able to tell from the skull. I don't
Did
know.
he have a little hat in his tomb?
I was gonna say.
Plus,
Yeah.
he's Sephardic Jewish, which is not the same as Ashkenazi, so it wouldn't have the same phenotype. I don't know if they have big noses.
What's
or whatever.
Sephardic?
What's the difference?
Ashkenazi is like European Jewish. That's like the ones that are. It's like a lot of Eastern European mixed with like the Middle Eastern, and they're like their genetic profile ends up looking a lot like Italians just randomly because of the same mix, even though they're not. Which is just a fun fact. I don't understand genetics too well, so like I could be wrong on that, but that's my
Sephardic
understanding
Middle
of it.
Eastern.
Well, yeah, that's Mizrahi.
Then
think.
what's Sephardic?
Sephardic is like Spanish Jewish. It's like
Can
From
I
the
impose?
peninsula.
Can I impose my ignorance upon you guys? I've seen people say that Jewish people aren't white. They look pretty white to me. So
no, they're.
why-
I mean, no,
So
they're
why-
Jewish. I mean, they're white. They're. I know that people will argue they're not, but like by any metric, they're white.
Yeah, but I agree with the they don't really like how do I say this? I would argue that they are technically white, but they act like their own thing.
Oh
Okay,
well, I
okay,
thought we were
alright.
talking genetically here.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Because I've seen people say, "Oh, well, they're like people say, oh, a white person, and it'll be a Jew," and they'll be like, "Oh, well, they're not white," and it's like, well,
Because that's what they
look
mean
different.
when they say it. Like,
Okay, all right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Spain is white, like the country is Spain, right? But like, if you were to be like, hey, this Jew from Israel is white, and then you have this Italian from Italy is white, you'd be like, are they though? You know, it's
Yeah, I
like-
mean, Italians are definitely like sub-white. At the
Shut
very
up,
least.
Sam! Don't fucking disparage me on my day. How
Listen,
dare you?
I get to be like the most hated of everybody because I'm Polish and Italian, so I guess I get it from all ends, except for the Jew end. I don't know. I think my mom is like 16% Jewish, so that makes me like at least. Sam, would you say like 7%, 7 or 8%?
Well, half of 16 is 8, but it can vary a little bit with how much you actually get. Like it could be anywhere
Sure.
from like 5 to 12.
That's also-
like you can get more or less from different parents.
Could he
inheritance.
get like a citizenship?
No, I think
Oh.
you need. I think they do it through your mom, and I think it has to be a quarter or a half.
Oh,
So no.
damn! You didn't make the cut.
No.
Yankees didn't get off a grand slam. I'm watching the game. Who's that? Luke typing in the fucking chat. I'm watching the game, dickhead. They didn't get off a grand slam. But like, first of all, Sam's just jealous because the Irish can't do anything or never done anything, and they almost died from potatoes, lack of product. And
You what? No, that was the English.
No, that was the Irish who can't.
No,
grow
that was
anything,
the English
can't
that did
make
that. It
anything,
wasn't lack
or
of
they-
potatoes.
Good, they
It
should have
was an
succeeded.
overabundance
I wish
of
they
English.
succeeded. Good.
You
I wish they wiped
you-
you off the planet. You fucking dumb Mick.
Jesus
Wow.
Christ. You fucking how am I'm gonna let a fucking Italian speak to me like this?
Italian-
This is ridiculous.
English speak to you like that. So
You haven't
double-
done shit in 2,000 years. Italy's
more than Italy. Oh shit! I just said it's more than Italy's done. It's more than Ireland's ever done. Besides,
anyone
again,
could get outsmarted by potatoes. Fuck you. Oh, I'm gonna listen. Italy hasn't done shit. It's a
they
country.
ruled the world for 2,000 years. What the
Yeah,
fuck are you
whatever.
talking
That
about?
was different guys.
You
that
got
was
dominant. You don't even have the whole country to yourself. You fucking loser.
First of all, I'm American, so jot that down.
You're
Yeah,
still
well,
Irish.
the Irish have you know, with their diaspora population, just infected the entire world with our drunken potato genes. So, you know, that's a win.
Is it?
Mm,
Is it a win?
not really.
Goddamn right, it's not. Anyway, Indigenous Peoples Day is gay, and they should stop saying that too. Is my point? I guess is what
Hey,
I'm gonna.
You know what? I actually forgot to do this. We need to do a land acknowledgement, and we need to acknowledge that we are here on indigenous land that belongs to them, that was stolen by the evil white man. So let's all.
I'll tell you what, the evil white man knows how to make some good fucking barbecue. I know that much.
Goddamn
That's
right they
fucking
do.
True.
Hells yeah.
There's a great Stone Toss comic where it's like a guy in a Confederate shirt. He's been like, "Go back to where you came from," and then it's like it cuts to like a native guy. He's being like, "Well, when are you going back to where you came from?" And then it cuts to like another native guy with him like with a spear in his chest, being like, "Well, how about you go back to where you came from?" And there's another guy. It just goes down the line like that. It's like, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
no one's from here. Like,
You can
everyone's
do
full
that
something.
everywhere in the
Exactly.
world too. Like in England, you can track it. There's like 4 or 5 distinct, like you can go back to the Normans, of course, and then before that the Anglo-Saxons, and before that the Romans, but then before that it's like there's like 3 waves of Indo-Europeans, and then before that is like pre-Indo-European people. It's like more than 5. It's a lot. You can do that anywhere if you have like a good trace of it.
Well, that's always like
You'll never
Europeans.
beat the Irish. Way too fucking annoying.
A lot of Europeans, when I talk shit on Europeans, be like, "But you're European, mate. Like, you know, like you're just like, okay, then you're African, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you just want to keep walking it back to like, like
Yeah.
wherever they came from.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Where do
fucking
you-
matter. Like,
Where's it cut off? You know.
Yeah.
Where's the cutoff? It's like, dude, we fought 2 wars, and I don't have to talk to you anymore. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what to tell you. Like, we're American. You're European.
Yeah.
And then I had some dumb fucking Swede who was like, "No, we were never African." I'm like, everything came from there. So at one point, you technically were. It's like you didn't just spawn out of the fucking Oslo. It was like
Right,
we're
right.
Swedish now. You know, it's like it's such a dumb fucking argument.
And also, like, yeah, genetically, whatever, we're European, but like, I'm 3rd generation. It's, you know, the Irish is like
Yeah.
a fucking distant memory. It's like it's
Mhm.
it's not a thing. Like it's
Yeah.
it's just a little flavor. It's like, I don't know, 5%, and that 5% is just because I'm more into that shit. Like it's less for most people.
Yeah, like my
we're
closest
American. Fuck Europe.
would be like 5 generations ago. The Germans on my side, and it's like I have no affiliation with Germany or anything. Like I've never been. No one in my family speaks German. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
And
it's
like 3rd
lost.
generation is like only marginally better than 5th. It's like barely there. It's not like my kids will be completely detached. Like my uncles were kind of attached, and they like helped fucking with the IRA and shit, and they're in like Irish fraternal organizations, but like that doesn't carry down to any of my cousins except for like one of them, and then it's me and Sean. Like, and that's it. And then Sean married a fucking English chick, and then I'm marrying a German chick, so it's like, you know, whatever. It's gone.
Wow.
It's fucking
Yeah.
gone.
Mixed
I-
race, dude. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's I don't think I think my mom is probably 3rd generation. I think my dad is 4th here. Or no, I'm sorry, I'm 4th. So yeah, my mom and dad would both be 3rd generation. Then my dad's Polish and Czech, and my mom is Italian. So,
Can any of them speak another language?
No, God, no.
Yeah.
I'm still over 50% Irish, but my kids won't be. So it's like,
Yeah.
Wow.
It's-
That's
yeah.
so sad. It's
Yeah.
over. It's over.
I'm diluting the potato.
You know, I
gene.
guess the only thing I want my my wife to pass on to our kids is her dad's height, because her dad's 6'7". So you know,
God
get-
crap.
damn.
Damn, dude. That's
yeah,
sick.
if he gets all my genetics, like you know the fucking eyes, the beard, and the nice glutes, the calves, and everything at fucking 6'7".
baldingness.
Yeah, well,
Dude,
hopefully
oh,
not the baldness.
Welcome
It's
NBA or
still over.
NFL. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
dude.
You'll be a real big
exactly.
sports fan then.
Yeah.
I was like, I've been a diehard Steeler fan my whole life. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they'll go back to all the old podcasts fucking 30 years later. Wait, this motherfucker was talking shit. Where the fuck's his terrible towel? Listen, and you know what I gotta say? I have to say, seeing Elon Musk here in Pittsburgh waving a terrible towel, you don't understand it unless you're here from Pittsburgh. It really kind of it tugs at some
cool.
heartstrings, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is cool. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
have
then,
nothing to be proud of as a Giants fan, but yeah, that must be nice for you.
Yeah.
That's true. Also, you're an Eagles fan right now.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Yeah, you are.
A lot of focus on Pennsylvania. You guys are up and up, you know, like the whole election, you know.
I know it really comes down to us.
Yeah, I know.
You guys are the deciders, basically.
Well, yeah. So I turned 30 on the 6th, right? Which is 2 days before the actual election. And I can't wait for nobody to wish me a happy birthday because I'm not voting for anybody. So the Kamala people are going to hate me because I'm not doing what they want. And the Trump people are really going to hate me because I'm not doing what they want. So, hey.
No, it's fine.
If
Kyle wants
Pennsylvania
to help
loses-
usher in evil. It's fine.
Yeah, if Kamala wins Pennsylvania, it's Kyle's fault.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm going to hear. Believe
Yeah,
me. I've
I will
heard
say it's the next day on this podcast.
I have
Yeah.
heard.
Wait, I'm
I've
sorry.
heard
Are
that
you not
since I
going to
could first
go?
vote.
You're not going to go vote for the gay dude? I forget his name. What is it?
Sam
Funny as
Urban.
hell.
Chase Oliver. That was good. That was good.
Oh, that's
All right,
funny.
all right, no,
Number
no,
one
I'm sorry.
Eagles fan.
Okay, I lied.
Nope.
I lied. I'm writing in Sam Urban.
There you go.
Vice
I
President
wrote in-
Chase Oliver.
You
Like,
have been hard
in
at
the
work on Chase
Connecticut?
Oliver's campaign.
Yeah.
In the last election, I wrote in Kanye West for like comptroller or something. I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is. Yet. I think it's a made up position. I think half these are made up positions.
Well, yeah, they're all a patronage network. We haven't talked about Christopher Columbus like at all.
Yeah, we have.
He's a genocidal
Oh,
maniac.
He's apparently a Jew
Okay,
and a
so
genocidal maniac. Yeah.
What is? I've never heard the allegation that he was Jewish until today. And I think
yeah.
I agree with you guys' point that like now his reputation is kind of being tarnished, which like I'm a historical fucking moron. I don't know shit about any of this stuff other than kind of what we learned in school. But like, not to say that I trust that I don't. It's just I don't know. You kind of can't argue with the fact that like a lot of these people are complaining about Christopher Columbus as they sit in their air-conditioned homes that was established
Dude.
because
Yes,
kind of
I
chose
was
to do
just
this.
gonna say that. I was gonna say they're tweeting from their iPhones. Thank Columbus, you fucking douchebag.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
have any of these motherfuckers, people always knock billionaires and millionaires and stuff like that, but I don't see anybody putting down their Amazon Prime membership, and I don't see anybody making a business that's better than Amazon. So
Yeah.
look,
Dude,
I'm
And
not
that's
saying
the
you should
essence
not-
of virtue signaling, is
Yeah.
that
Well,
there's no
yeah.
substance to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just like with indigenous land claims, they're fake. It's like they say like it often the language in them is that, oh, like we are on stolen land. It's like, okay, if you're on stolen land and you're the people in charge of the land and it's stolen, then give it back. And if you don't, which is fine because it's not really stolen, the whole conquered not stolen thing, but like if you're going to acknowledge it as an official policy of the people that are in charge of these institutions, like colleges, businesses, whatever, then give the land back. And if you don't, then you don't really believe it's stolen. You're just lying.
Yeah.
Which is what it is. They don't believe it's stolen. It's
Well,
fake.
So when it comes to the Indians being kicked off the land, didn't they not necessarily have a conception of property rights? And on top of that, they also like didn't have
They didn't have the same conception of property rights.
Sure.
And it was different in different places. They didn't have an idea. This gets thrown around a lot, like oh, they just anybody could own anything. Like it wasn't like that. Yeah, it was. They still fought over land and the best land and stuff, and there were still like tributary. I mean, Connecticut gets its shape from the Pequot having essentially a system of subjugated tribes as a tributary, really far out from their regular area. They absolutely had property rights. They just weren't personal property rights. They were more like tied to the tribe and the band.
And it wasn't like put down in a contract and it was like stated like this area is mine. It was kind of like, just like a tribe. Like, hey, you come on my land and hunt, they're gonna fuck with you. If you fuck with their land, it's
Right.
It was more basic tribal. It wasn't. I mean, yeah, the concept of like I own this property. Yeah, they didn't have that concept, but like for thousands of years, people had the concept of like, hey, this is my land. You can't come on here. Foreigners can't come and like take our stuff. Like that is it's normal. Like
Yeah, and the foreigners were 30 miles away, by the way. It wasn't like, you know, that was who the foreigners were. I mean, the Pequot's like arch nemesis is the Narragansett, and they're Rhode Island. And the Pequot were 15 miles, like that's my home county. The where the Pequot actually lived. They kind of ran all of Connecticut, but they were centered in the southeast, like 15 miles away from the border of Rhode Island.
So I also imagine that like they weren't inhabiting like the vast majority of America. Like we still don't inhabit the vast majority of America. But like that being said, I have to imagine, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there were probably so many places that just weren't homesteaded yet. That,
well,
you know,
so there's two things there. It's number one is that like their subsistence strategy, in the eastern woodlands, like at most they're horticulturalists in North America. You obviously have like some exceptions to that where they were at like a higher level of development, like the Mississippian culture, which would have had agriculture, but it collapsed during the Little Ice Age in 1350 before Europeans actually came. You had the Haudenosaunee, which is the Iroquois, and there's a few others. The Pacific Northwest natives were hunter-gatherers by the technical definition because they fished, but they also had like planked houses, like they were quite developed. But for the most part, for the most part, they weren't really like, they were living at a lower density of population, which really doesn't help them once the wars start. But the other part of that is that, you know, De Soto, the conquistador that went into the Mississippi River Valley, the Spanish guy, he goes in the early 1500s into the Mississippi River Valley, and he releases all these pigs and horses. And so the diseases spread. And then the English don't start colonizing until the early 17th century, which is like 130 years later. And by that point, the diseases had wiped out like more than half of the Native Americans in North America. So by the time the English couldn't have settled before because it was full, like all the land was accounted for at a lower population density than Europeans were used to, or the Aztecs or the Mayans were used to, but it was all full. So they were only able to go there. And like there are these stories from like the 1630s and 40s when they're like, oh, the fish are overflowing. Like there's so many birds in the sky that it blots out the sun. And this was because the entire ecosystem was thrown out of whack because the majority of the humans on the North American continent died from these diseases. So yeah,
this is always what question? I said about like when people are like, well, they stole our land, fight better. I don't know. Have you tried fighting harder? Guns are good. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
you know, they were a warrior. They were a warrior people, and like they did.
Yeah, some of them were.
Well,
not enough.
I mean, like the Comanches, like they're very well known.
Yeah, so you pick the most warlike out of all of the Native Americans as an example.
Yeah, but like it's not like I'm saying is like they were a formidable opponent. They weren't like
Dude, I just
envision not like easy for us to do it.
I just envision like the Spanish conquistadors rolling up to like the natives, and they're like bows and arrows, and they just fucking Indiana Jones them in the chest.
Jesus.
The conquistadors are an interesting one because they only had like 900 men or something like 700.
Yeah, and guns. Which is
but the technology wasn't as big of a factor as you would think. Without the diseases, it wouldn't have happened. But also, like, this doesn't apply to like the Mayans and the Incas, but with the Aztecs, it was very easy. Like the Aztecs were a pariah even for their time. They're often compared to the Assyrians, who were extraordinarily bloody and bloodthirsty. Like the Aztecs only made enemies. Like if the Europeans hadn't showed up, the Aztecs wouldn't have survived another 100, 200 years max.
Well, that's kind of interesting to think. That's kind of interesting to think about because, like, I think a lot of people, probably more left-leaning people, especially, would probably think like, "Oh, these people would have prospered on forever had it not been for Whitey coming over and fucking shit up." But I don't think, and this also kind of goes to like the whole naturalist fallacy where like people say, oh, well, we didn't have all these diseases back then. Okay, well, like life expectancy was a lot lower. We didn't have the same technologies. Like our life expectancy is a lot longer now, although you could argue that we sort of die a longer death. But at the same time, there's so many different factors that play in. Like, yeah, 100,000 years ago, we may not have had cancer or diabetes to the degree we do now, but there were probably mineral deficiencies. And then if you had some kind of issue with your organs or something like that, there really weren't ways to address it or fix it or anything like that. So I think there's a lot of factors that kind of come into shit like this that people just don't consider. They just assume that, oh, well, white people came, white people bad, white people conquered, so therefore white people bad, and give the land back, or gives me that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Sam would know more about this than me, but with the Aztecs too, I think it wasn't like the conquistadors just came and attacked the Aztecs like by themselves. Like there was actually other tribes that joined the conquistadors and helped them. Like they kind of led a rebellion against the Aztecs because
and they weren't tribes. I mean, they were like full on civilization. Like the Tlaxcalans were the main allies of the Spanish. And that the Spanish had to convince them to do it. But once they did, because like a revolt against the Aztecs, like what would happen to you if you lose is, unspeakable.
You get sacrificed for the sun god.
Yeah, I mean, but that was also already happening. They already had like a system of ritualistic wars where they would go in and take from the populations of the people. They would force them to fight them.
Mel Gibson actually made a Apocalypto. It's actually pretty good.
Awesome movie. There's a really funny meme out there. I can't find it. I don't think I saved it, but it was like a picture of like the Aztecs like mid sacrificing a baby, and a bunch of like Spanish conquistadors like shocked looking at them, and the Aztec guy's like, "Oh, here we go, the white man coming to cancel us."
By the way, Apocalypto is about the Mayans, not the Aztecs. But the Mayans also practiced human sacrifice. It was done in a slightly different way.
Incas were the peaceful. Who were the Incas? Were the peaceful ones who just didn't?
Incas were relatively peaceful. Yeah. When you're dealing with like this doesn't apply to the Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas, but like in North America, like this idea that Native Americans were very warlike. It's obviously there's differences between different cultures and tribes. So some are more than others. But there's also that like people at that level of subsistence, like people that are living in hunter-gatherer societies are in general more likely to have violent deaths. Like it's pretty much everywhere that's more likely. But not all of them would have considered themselves like warrior people. But even the ones that didn't would have had a larger portion of their population engaged in warfare at some point in their life.
Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are at the Yankee game for some reason, and that just bothers me.
Who gives a shit? Eagles number one.
So,
my camera shut off.
So, do you think that like a lot of these tribes didn't necessarily advance because of like, I hate to just boil it up to IQ, but do you think that played like a large factor in like their lack of advancement and like fostering the country? No, you don't think it does?
No, I don't think so at all. Number one, there's like you guys probably know about the.
Yeah, you did change my name, you cunt.
Yeah, I changed it before we even started. It's been like that the entire time. Number one.
Damn it.
Yeah. So there's like number one. There's like a difference in available materials. Like once you get to 1492 in Europe, you're building upon like at least 10,000 years of human civilization that's been like fostered in Eurasia and Africa. Yeah. And there's like, you don't have that in the Americas. I mean, you have the Aztecs and the Incas, and there is some evidence of like spreading out from there. But like, if you look at how long it takes for civilization to spread to like the British Isles from the Middle East, it's a long time. It's thousands and thousands of years. And then there's like the pack animals that they didn't have.
So,
the domestic
real
animals.
Quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure that I'm kind of following you here. It sounds to me like you're saying like the Indians really weren't there all that long, so they didn't really have the opportunity to flourish because they weren't in where they were for that long. Am I wrong or
no? So no, I would. So we don't know how long they were there. They were there for like, you know, I think the oldest right now evidence is like 37,000 years.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like, it's, you know, the most simple explanation is that they just chose not to. Like, people didn't want to civilize in Europe and the Middle East and Asia. They had to be forced to. And this comes back to like what I was saying before about like a larger density of population. If you, when you look at the archaeological record, when people move from being hunter gatherers to being agriculturalists, for the vast majority of population, their health decreases. It's a lower quality of life for the majority of the population, but they're forced into it.
I think you and I talked about this when you were on my show. Fucking, it was like a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years.
Yeah.
But like, this was around like 2 to 3 million years ago, right? Because that was around when. Okay, no. Okay, yeah, I see the look you're giving me. I'm thinking of like the whole gut brain hypothesis, where basically like when we started to learn how to cook and also how to hunt, that's when we started to change. Like we started to stand a little bit more upright and gained more brain instead of gut, because we didn't.
Yeah, so there's a few theories on how that happened. Some of it is like omega fatty acids. There's a few different ones, but there's
proximity
like this
to oceans and fish.
Right. So that's one of the theories. There's a few others, but that's a few 100,000 years ago. It's not millions.
Okay, I remember reading somewhere where they said it was 2 to 3 million. I might be remembering it incorrectly.
It's 2 to 300,000, or well, it's like 300,000.
Sure.
The oldest anatomically modern human is like 300,000 years ago. Right now that we have, they've found new ones several times in our lifetime that are older. And right now the most recent one is 300,000 years. So we don't know how long before that it goes back, but it's very hard to find stuff that old. So it's, you know, it's whatever. But no, there is some evidence also that people were choosing, like there were, I've read this a long time ago, but the book, The Dawn of Everything, that I talk about sometimes, it's behind me. They talk about why there might have been a choice not to settle down, and actually like settle into settled society with like houses and a like hierarchical set in stone command structure. And they did have that in North America at certain points. Like the Mississippi River Valley was host to a civilization like this, and it collapsed. And it's possible that some of these ideas of not wanting to do that came from that. But like people did in Europe have to be forced to join agricultural society, like by slavers and people who came in and conquered them and forced them to do things. And then that continues over time until you get to like the 19th century, where you have nationalism.
A lot of, I mean, I don't know if this plays a part, but a lot of names in Europe, like it'll be named after like your family's job. So like there'll be literal, like a smith or I don't know, a farmer or whatever, and that would be like your family's designated job for like ever. Like that's what your family does. But it also builds like this intense specialization through generations of this trait. So it has like it has really good effects for like generations of like these people are just going to be very expert. Like if the whole family is farmers, this family is going to be very good at farming. If this whole family is good at blacksmithing, they're going to be very good at blacksmithing. So
well, you still see this, I think, for the most part today. Like, I mean, I'm an example of it. I'm a mechanic. My dad was a mechanic. His dad was a mechanic. His dad's dad was a mechanic. And then, you know, plenty of people that I worked with, it's the same deal. Hey, yeah, my dad grew up working on cars, so now guess what I'm doing? Or, you know, hey, my dad was a welder, I'm now a welder, or stuff like this. Like typically families do kind of carry on their lineage, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of believe that some of that stuff, I mean, is kind of passed down through us, like since like
it's hereditary.
It's somehow, it's some way, one way or another, hereditary. Like like it's kind of out there, but like the knowledge of your family is somehow passed down to you in a way.
Well,
but
it's like that also kind of raises the question,
thing,
of like nature versus nurture as well, because like obviously there's like genetic components to like if you're going to be more predisposed to like alcoholism or maybe a certain career path, or like genetic components to like how much muscle you can build. So I wonder if it's almost like more of you're born into this environment, and then you're kind of it expresses through you because of your environment. And like there's tons of debates on nature versus nurture. Like I think a lot of stuff tends to go back towards like nature. Like when it comes to IQ, I think a lot of the stuff actually is just nature, which kind of sucks because that means, okay, well, if you were given a shitty hand, then you're given a shitty hand. That just is what it is.
Sure, yeah.
But like there is a degree of nurture as well. Like when you breastfeed babies, for example, their IQ actually tends to go up. If you don't hate your kids, their IQ goes up. If you eat a lot of like EPA and DHA rich foods, like a lot of fish and stuff like that, that actually helps with babies' brain health, like their eye health and stuff like that. So I don't know, to how much of a degree, if you master 100% of nature, or I'm sorry, of nurture, does that express, their nature more or what? But just, yeah,
You
I
could
don't
all
know.
just be retarded, and it doesn't matter like what's around you and not. Like you could just be retarded. Like,
Yeah.
But I also like, I don't know. I think especially nowadays, I don't even know if having like obviously having a higher IQ in our society can help you, but I also think it has a lot of negative effects too. Like you're more prone to depression, you're more like mental disability or mental problems, and it's like when when you're not like no longer like you have to like live to survive and you get bored, like dumber people can get by a lot easier, in life.
Right.
Well,
And
this good point.
And smarter
Yeah,
people,
so true.
like they don't know what to do with their time, and they start thinking about, a lot of people think this is like with liberalism, it kind of, and this is where atheism kind of comes from, because we just sat around and it's like, instead of, hey, we conquered the world, we've created this prosperous society. So like, how do we change like how we view the world? And people look to the science now, and then science becomes the religion of us, instead of, just like to accept things how things were, and we don't need to change. And so I don't know. I don't necessarily think that. I think obviously in our society, IQ gives you an advantage, but I think there's a lot of consequences that actually come with that people don't talk about.
You're much better off being hardworking and not that smart than you are being high IQ and lazy.
Yeah, agreed.
There's
Also,
just
an
a-
article
actually,
recently about how like they're like liberals are smarter, but they have way more mental illnesses than like.
Well, there was Jordan Peterson, I think, talked about this when it comes to IQ
He's
stuff
gay,
as
but
well.
yes.
He is, but just because he's gay doesn't mean we can't take a few things from him. But it's like conservatives tend to be a little bit more conscientious, right? So as in they're dutiful and hardworking, whereas like liberals tend to be a little bit more open. So they're a little bit more capable of like abstract thinking and aren't necessarily as dutiful and hardworking.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because if you look, that's why every fucking trans whatever disabled, it's always some shit lib. It's never a conservative who's like, I'm trans and I'm voting for Trump.
Well,
unless you think about like Blair White, and then
but
I can't remember.
You're right, but
of course the exception makes the rule,
right? But it's literally less than 1%. Like every single one you see online is like a hardcore bleeding shit lib, and
that's the thing with I forgot his name. Oh, he wrote a book. I don't remember that, but he did like a test study, but he also included libertarians. So it was conservative, liberals, and libertarians.
Jonathan Haidt?
Yes.
Okay.
And libertarians are the least empathetic group out of all of them. Libertarians have the least empathy. And when you I read that and I started looking at Twitter and I was like, oh my God, I see it.
I agree with you, Typo.
They're only focused on libertarian ideology. They do not care about culture, and they just think everything's stupid. Everyone gets in front of the way, and they cannot empathize why someone would care about their culture or their god or gods or whatever, wherever they come from.
Typo, real quick, before I forget the point. You guys follow that account? What's his name? 9mm SMG on Twitter. He's like conservative guy. Okay, I like that guy a lot. He has a lot of good points. He put out a tweet the other day that said, I want to pose this like mainly libertarians. He's like, if there was a guy who had a cure for cancer, he's like, let's say for the sake of hypothetical argument, it's 100% proof, no, like you can't get hurt from it. It's like 100 verifiably like a cure for cancer, right? Like no side effects, nothing. Mm-hmm. And it's chained to his wrist, and you can't remove the chain. The only way to get it off his wrist is to fucking kill him and take the cure, right?
Yeah.
Would you do it?
Can't you just cut his arm off?
No, you can't sell it off. Just like you got to kill him, or that's it. And then people were like, well, is he bad in other ways? He's like, nope, just doesn't want to give the cure out. Like, not any other way. It's not like he's like, a murderer or anything like that. He just doesn't want to get the cure out. What would you do? So many libertarians are like, well, if we start doing that, then we like kill him and take the cure. Like, what are we talking about? Like this is why that fucking it's so fucking stupid. Like, it's just so many libertarians in the comments are like, it's like, oh, you can't do that because it's like, bah, bah, bah. Shut up, faggot. It's like, it's kill him.
Yeah.
Like,
I find that a lot of libertarians, well, one, they're egalitarian in a sense that basically they believe in universally everyone should have, like, in the world, everyone should have libertarian philosophy, and that if everyone adopted this, then everything would be like a much better society, which I do not think that's possible.
I love when Pete brings this up. I've been listening to some of his live streams recently, and he was like, "We just need to go to Haiti and hand out economics in one lesson."
It's like, but listen, there's certain people that this concept does not exist, and this is not something
they just can't. Yeah, they can't think in abstract, right?
Right.
And that's what IQ actually is largely.
Think in abstracts. Is that what?
No. So like IQ generally tests for like the ability to think in abstract. So like as you get higher and higher in IQ, your ability to think abstractly is more and more. And it's not just that, but I mean, it's plenty of other things. One thing that I wanted to bring up that when you guys were talking, I thought about, I remember somebody said all the libertarians are freaking out about Trump saying we should execute drug dealers instead of trying to understand why they would react so favorably to that. And like, I kind of had that reaction too. I'm like, oof, that's a little rough. Like, it's not the most offensive thing in the world to me because I fucking hate marijuana and I hate most other drugs. But at the same time, I can also look at that and think like, oh, a lot of people resonate with this because they probably know somebody that got fucked over by somebody that gave them fentanyl.
Right.
And like, regardless of the fact that I think we would all agree, like, hey, this is still the person's responsibility. They should probably be very careful when they're taking any kind of drug. Regardless, there's still a nefarious actor there who knowingly distributed a drug that killed somebody. And saying that you're going to execute that person gives, these people this feeling of, hey, justice is being served. So, I mean, that's kind of like the full circle thing that, once again, a lot of libertarians will get stuck at step one and say, you're executing a non-violent person.
Right.
Well, I mean, if there's like, if you dealt something and your intent wasn't there, I see where you're coming from, but regardless, you need to empathize.
That's where the word negligence comes in.
I really hate, this is one thing also I very much hate about the libertarian philosophy in a lot of ways, because it's like, okay, if you find out your daughter went to some scummy guy's house and is about to shoot a porno, I think it's well within the father's right to like go in there and like beat the shit out of the guy or try to physically fight him. Like, I'm serious. Like, I don't care. 18, 19, 20. I don't give a shit.
I agree. I just retweeted an article typo there where this old man was like caught molesting this guy's daughter like years ago, and then he like semi-kidnapped her again, and the dad shot him and they arrested him. It's like, why?
Well, they have to arrest him, but hopefully the grand jury comes with nothing.
Yeah, would you want to live in a society where that would be normalized, where once
exactly
again, someone could kidnap him? And I did a podcast last week on why I'm not an anarchist anymore, and I laid out pretty clearly that I think in situations of abortion, if there's somebody knowingly killing a child, and right now we have this weird conception culturally, and you're not going to change this overnight. I'm sorry, as much as I'm pro-life, people do have this conception that life doesn't begin at conception, that when it's in your womb, there's this arbitrary line of when it eventually becomes a child.
Those people are called retarded, but go on.
Well, yeah, I agree, but once again, this is just the world we live in, unfortunately. I do think it's okay, and it's just for a government to go in and say, you're not going to murder that child. You chose to have sex. You chose to get pregnant. And once again, assuming that all this stuff is voluntary, you do not have a right to kill that child. I think that is perfectly well within, a government's function to say you're not allowed to do that. That makes me not an anarchist anymore, or not a libertarian. Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm over the label. It's like, oh, you're not. I don't care. By the way, guys, this is a right-wing podcast now.
Always has been.
Always has been.
Well, the thing is like, I kind of, when I first came into it, it was like, okay, we got to battle for political theology or identity. Like, we have to get our political ideology to the top. And I just got over that. I was like, I
Right.
just want people from my culture and like family to like survive this madness. Like, I don't even
Agreed.
care if it's like, I don't know. I mean, I obviously the idea of libertarianism, and there's a lot of things I still learn from it and I came from it. I'm not gonna like completely abandon every idea, but like
Right.
it's just
There are some good ideas.
we're not in a libertarian world. Like
Right.
that's the thing, dude.
Well, it's what Pete
under
always says,
attack.
right? Incapacitant in your head. It's like, yeah, he's
Yeah.
right. Like he's 100% fucking right. Like it's just sorry, it just is the way it is. Like it doesn't work like that. And like Rex just said, the problem with libertarianism is that it requires everyone to be smart and not lazy. And it's like, yeah, it's part of it. Also, JC said lack of empathy and autism goes hand in hand. Also true. That's like half fucking the libertarian shit. Like how many? I mean, fucking how many autists on Twitter do you see that that are libertarian that are just like, I'm like, oh, you guys just don't fucking get it. Like you just don't get it.
Yeah, I sometimes I don't know why this happens, but sometimes it'll be like a tweet I made like 4 years ago that somebody likes on Twitter. So it pops up on my notifications, and I look at it and I'm like, oh god, dude, this is so cringy. Like this is like no self-awareness libertarianism that I was at right now.
Yeah, but we all came from that. Like we all did that, and then we, like you just said, we evolved to be like, this is dumb because this isn't the real world, and I'd rather have a society and culture not collapse.
Yeah, I'd rather
just
survive.
Than just wish it would. Like, yeah, I wish a lot of things, dude.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody in one of these group chats that I'm in, and this guy is a very, very hardcore libertarian. And I remember saying, like, my wife was going to be a cop and I was going to be a public school teacher, and there would be nothing any of you fuckers could do to shame me about it. And they're like, oh, well, you know, libertarians shouldn't occupy those jobs because we don't believe in that or something like that. I'm like, okay, follow me here for just 1 second. Would you and this is where you can't engage a hypothetical with some libertarians, because my thing was like, would you, would you rather somebody with your beliefs occupy those institutions or somebody without your beliefs occupy those institutions?
Real
and he
quick,
said, oh well,
sorry, go ahead.
He said, oh well, somebody with my beliefs wouldn't occupy those you know, those occupations. I'm like,
right. Yeah, we're done.
You're done. You're done. We'll never do anything.
Right. And that's my point. I was a cop for 8 fucking years. I did it. And we policed, like me and the guys I got close with, we were all kind of the same ideology. We're like, I'm just gonna care about like violent crime and shit. Like I'm gonna let a lot of things go that don't matter. It just because like again, and that probably helped people more than it hurt people. Because like you just said, Kyle, would you rather have me, some fucking guy who thinks like us, doing that job, or some guys like letter of the law, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this?
Like here, that's like the perfect like argument for like, you know, libertarians need to seize power because you were in a position of power, but you were a benevolent person in power. You were benevolent. You were not enforcing the bullshit laws. You were like,
never once.
I'll let this guy get away, or like, you know, it's something like whatever stupid law, this jaywalk, I don't know, whatever the fuck you
it's nonsense.
that was like stupidly that didn't need to be enforced. And that's the whole point. Is like you need to be able to in position of power so you can let your friends go. So you can be like, okay, buddy, you know, get out of here. And then when enemies try to do something, you can go after your enemies.
Yeah, I think Sam was we kind of danced around it, not just Sam, but like we all kind of danced around it throughout this podcast, but like the idea of elite theory. And I'm not like super well read on it, but to me, intuitively, it makes sense. Where like Sam was mentioning earlier, how a lot of Europe had to kind of be forced into assimilating to like a higher standard of living. And then, you know, obviously we came over here and kind of imposed ourselves upon the Indian cultures and brought about a better standard of living for everybody. I think this applies to libertarianism as well. Like where if you would want to have a more libertarian society, then you would need elites and people in charge who can move things in that direction, which will include people inhabiting institutions that you may be principally against, but your world or the world we live in isn't made up of your principles and what you want. It's made up of what it is. So therefore, if you get libertarians in institutions of power, institutions of influence, and kind of move through that way, nobody knows if the world's going to go, you know, move in a libertarian direction because of that, but it's not moving in a libertarian direction without that.
Well, that's the thing, Kyle, you're right. It's like public schools, as much as we all hate them, they're not going away tomorrow. They're not going away in 10 years. They're not going away in 20 years. The police aren't going anywhere. They're just not. So like, why not seize them and be like, we'll control it, like
Yeah.
then as opposed to like some fucking shitlib who's trying to trans my kid. You know, it's like, what would you
Yeah.
rather have? Again, like my wife, who's a Catholic school teacher, who's a conservative, teach kids, or some fucking crazy blue haired person who's like, I'm Caesar and you should be trans and white men are evil. And like, it's like,
Yeah.
well, who would you rather have?
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sam, this is actually a pretty big hypothetical, but what would be the effect of, like, say, an Abrahamic religion or Christianity of such on, like, do you think the fact that Christianity spread through Europe gave Europe an advantage in a sense because like, I mean, I remember reading a book, or maybe it was a podcast I listened to, but it was about like human and animal sacrifices was like a typical pagan thing. And that was all over. That was not just Native Americans. That was your Germanic people. They did it too. But
the Baltics were the last people to
Yes.
get crusaded into not doing it.
So do you think if
Europe.
something like that, like an adoption of Christianity or whatever, it could be another religion, I guess, but would have played a much different role and culturally changed them? Like, do you think that's why maybe Europeans had an advantage in a way?
Well, you can break it down more from Christian into like Catholic and Protestant and everything. Like the Enlightenment is tied in, for good or bad, with the spread of Protestantism. And like the Protestant work ethic is a huge thing for the founding of America. So like the religion that you have and that you practice, like it as well as other things, like really religion is not a real thing. We just decide that religion is a thing. And a lot of other cultures in the world, they don't compartmentalize aspects of life into religion, like of society into religion and economics. It's all like intertwined into like
Yes.
what you do. So yeah, I mean, it definitely plays a role in what is seen as acceptable in the society, and it plays a role in the incentive structure of like what traits people are promoting and which they're not promoting or like pushing away. So yeah, it absolutely plays a role. And then later on, when this system changes to the point where the old system no longer makes sense based on whatever reason, then you have something new. That's where Christianity comes from in the first place, where you have Catholicism, and then you have the Great Schism with Orthodox and Catholicism splitting, and then you have the Protestant Reformation, and then you have these like further divisions in the United States into like what has become evangelicalism and Mormonism. Mormonism earlier, of course, and then evangelical like more recently, and they all have traits to them. So yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think I don't know, what I remember is that like most places did some sort of sacrifice of human or animal, and the big revelation with Christianity was like basically just teaching people is like, you don't need to do that anymore because someone else has done that for us.
Right. And that's where you get the Eucharist from, which is a symbolic sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like literally a revolution. Like this was like a pretty common practice across the world, and all of a sudden now there's this faith that comes seemingly out of nowhere in a lot of ways, is now telling you, like, humanity, like, hey, you don't need to sacrifice people. You don't need to sacrifice anything anymore. It's now, that's done. We had one guy do it for us, and then we can move on from that. And it's actually like, I never had someone explain it to me like that, because I mean, I didn't know anything about like pre-Christians, like what they were doing, but it made so much more sense that like, true or false, that story had to happen for us to evolve.
Yeah,
Right.
I actually never heard it explained that way either, but that's really, really interesting. And this is where I'm always fascinated by like the genesis of religion, because it's like, okay, well, we have not found as people a better moral foundation than that. And I still consider myself agnostic, but like, what is the argument and basis for a secular morality? Because you don't really have anything that's completely unchanging that you can definitively prove that is never changing in the world, right? So this is where people go from, say they get their morality from divine command from God, which in my opinion, is still subjective, but we don't have anything better because you can't definitively prove that God is never changing because we just don't have that capability. But that being said, it's clearly had us prosper through how long now without human sacrifice. So if anybody's got anything better, I'm all ears. But there's nothing
You should
that I've
read.
ever heard.
You should read Tom Wood's book, "How the Catholic Church Built the West,"
Because
it's really interesting. Like the whole, like I remember this specifically from the term his book, and it's like the term barbarian. Where that comes from is like these like savage Germanic people, like savage like Europeans, basically like tribal European people. They couldn't say anything else but barb, and they would quickly, like if there was a dispute in the group, they would quickly turn to violence, start beating the shit out of each other. If one person wanted something, it's like these saints, these Catholic saints are writing this down, like, hey, we're trying to teach these people, Catholicism, and they're apes, basically. Like
sounds like a group of people live in America right now.
And
what is it? 1350, right? 1356.
Yeah, it's just really interesting because you're like, this is like in Europe. This is not like, he's not like meeting some tribe in Africa or South America. This is Europe that these people are talking about. And it's like, 500 AD or whatever. But, they're talking about how like these people are backward savages and they need to be taught morals. And these are our morals. And we're going to teach them 10 commandments. Hey, don't steal, don't kill. And you think these things are like, it's like very odd. Like we look at it, we're like, this is so obvious. Like obviously you can't kill, you can't cheat on your wife. Like this is so obvious. Like why would we even need to discuss this? But back then, people, like we were so primitive, like a lot of people were primitive and didn't have the same moral basis. And Christianity was kind of like a unifier where like just put all of these countries and all of these peoples at least on the same basic moral understanding so we can communicate and develop and trade and like, make deals with each other. Because even though we might not speak the same language, our faith is the same. So we can at least talk to them in the same way and have the same morals. And even like with Muslims, I mean, it is a derivative of like without the Bible, you do not get the Quran. And so there even is like a communication there that you can have with them in a sense, because we still come from the same Genesis. The same with the Jews. Like we all come from the same Genesis, at least. We all like, and there's like, in a way, like Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, we all have the same origin story. So we all have something at least we can get along with. Like, hey, we all come from Adam. Like that's what we can at least have in common. And you need that. I think you need something like that for a moral, at least standings, at least in the beginning, for people to communicate and get along. Because if you don't have the same morals, like, how are you going to trust them or make trade with them or communicate or do all these things? And it's actually, once I stopped looking at the Bible as like, is it real? Is this like, should I take this like seriously? And I started looking at it as more like it's a survival guide for human civilization. And I think when you look at it like that, it makes a lot more sense. Because it's not trying to tell you like what you should do. I mean, it is telling you what you should do as a person, but it's also trying to teach like an entire society how to operate, how to get along, things not to do, cardinal sins, all these things. And when you look at it from that perspective, you're like, dude, this is why this civilization was able to last so long, because this moral teaching was passed down through generations and generations and generations, and everyone kind of understood it. And that's why I think it's like, that's why, like, the people want to revert back to religion. You see, at least, I don't know, I'm sure you guys see it too, but there's a significant rise of like Christian nationalism and Christianity, people converting to Christianity. And I think it's because there's this sense of we need to go back because we're in a, like, whatever happening now, it's a major problem and we need to get back to the basics.
Yeah, we need to go back and they got to go back. But what was my follow up to that? I had a really good.
So I rambled there.
No, it's okay. I really enjoyed that, but I'm trying to. I had something and now it's gone. Oh well. You guys want to do plugs? Wrap this one up. I think it's
I have
as
to
good of a
go
place as any.
shit, and I have
Follow
to
me
leave.
on MySpace.
Yeah. So yeah, follow Sam on MySpace. Adam, or #1 Eagles fan, I should say.
No. Oh, you changed it again, you cunt. Stop fucking changing it. I ever heard it bad enough. Whatever. Yankees are winning 3-0. I don't even care. Go follow me at Adam
Daniel
Nutter.
Jones is a bitch.
You're a bitch. You fat
Yeah,
fuck.
okay.
Fat
Yeah,
skinny
fair enough.
fuck. Sam's 190 pounds and has 0 muscle. Just everybody keep that in mind. Follow me at Adam Nutter on Twitter. And that's it. Go follow me.
Wait, why are you an Eagles fan, Sam?
Because he's gay. What do you mean?
My family's from Philly.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very
Typo.
well. Follow me on Twitter. Keep it or not keep it. That's Luke. Keep it real, Luke. Go follow my buddy Luke, and then at the real typo on Twitter. And we'll record an episode eventually. I promise.
I've been roasting you in your Discord.
I know. I've been peeking in there, and they're just like roasting me, and I was like, "I'm sorry, guys. We're like fucking Luke's working late."
Oh, you can win 4-0. Suck my dick, Sam.
Nope.
You want it?
I don't like Italian sausage.
Oh, you don't?
But
That's
No,
wrong.
I actually really do like Italian
Yeah,
sausage,
you like
but
mine.
not his.
Fag.
thanks for teaching us about the indigenous people.
Yeah, happy
Yeah.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yay.
Never praise Italians.
Go
Yeah.
Columbus.
We should-
Go Italy.
I was gonna say we should change it to this other Spanish conquistador that we should celebrate. His name's Pedro de Alvarado.
Mhm.
And he's exactly how they depict Christopher Columbus to be. So
I never even heard of that guy, I don't think.
he was very brutal to the to the Native
Nice.
Americans.
Okay.
Very,
All right, boys. I
very-
love you. I really do have to take a shit. I love you
All
guys.
right, see ya.
Bye.
Yeah, follow me, Komatovik on Twitter. Just crossed over 4,000. And now I'm like frozen right at like underneath 4,010 followers. So if you could break me out of there,
Nice.
I'd appreciate it. I
Paul,
got Will
Tyler,
Porter.
you're gay.
Yeah. I got Will Porter coming on this week from the Libertarian Institute. He doesn't do that many podcasts, so I'm sure it'll be a good one. And Post Zero on Sundays occasionally. And I think, commoncrown.com. We did like some kind of interview thing last Tuesday. We're going to be practicing tomorrow night, but I don't know when that will go out. Look or go to musicfromthe412.com and keep an eye there because it'll have like live audio and video recording, and the video in the studio looked really, really cool and it sounded really good. So I'm excited for everybody to check that out. We played some new songs too, which I thought came out fantastic. So yeah, Music for the 412 and Liberty and Health, Komatovik on Twitter, and that is all for me.
Follow me on MySpace. Do the thing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh wow, that's quick. Hell yeah.
I know where to go.
Oh, I can't hit end stream. End it.
Oh.